What's up, everybody? Dr. Trevor Wilkins here. I'm known as the Angry Viking Therapist. If you're new to this channel, I treat a lot of different things, but one of the specialties I want to talk about this month is treating PTSD among public safety members in the military. So I spent 15 years in uniform law enforcement, had some pretty dark years there. You can find that on some other videos. And then went to school to get my Ph.D. and be able to help other people through licensed counseling and psychotherapy. I want to get people better that are just like me. So this is part 2 of the video that I just previously did part 1 for last week. And what I'm talking about is EMDR, which is one of my specialties, and how EMDR, eye movement desensitization reprocessing, which has become very popular in the last about 20 years, even though it's been around for a while. And what EMDR will actually be helping with that's caused by things like PTSD. Well, one of those things that consistently happens to us is flashbacks of reality, right? The past feels present. In trauma, the past is present. What we know about trauma is that today's dysfunctional emotions are created by previous life events that left us feeling helpless, hopeless, or not good enough. And when I first thought of those words, I thought, I'm going to have to change those for public safety and military folks. There's no way I'm calling them helpless and hopeless. But it turns out over the decades of doing this that when I say that previous life events left us feeling helpless, hopeless, and not good enough, everybody I say that to says, yeah, that's exactly what I feel. That's exactly what I felt at the end of that traumatic event. Because many of you are going to see hundreds of it if you're working in public safety. Hundreds and hundreds of traumatic and critical events. Why do some of them stick and some of them you've almost forgotten about? Well, it's because it's not always the event. In fact, it's rarely the event. It's how it made you feel. And I don't mean emotionally. I'm not one of those therapists that's going to ask you, how did that make you feel, right? I can see in your face how it made you feel. Not good. I don't need the answer to that question. What I mean by feel is if it left you feeling helpless, hopeless, and not good enough, it really triggered those things in that difficult and fight or flight part of the brain, whether it be danger for self or danger for others that you feel like you couldn't fix, because we're fixers. That's what we do in public safety in the military, right? That we feel like we couldn't do that. It often left us feeling helpless, hopeless, and not good enough. I talk about in previous videos about a wreck that I went to in which a lady lost her life right in front of me. And it wasn't the traumatic or the difficulty of seeing that. I had seen that before. Instead, it left me feeling very helpless and not good enough because I was supposed to be the fixer. I was supposed to make it better. So today, when things come up, the past is present when it comes to trauma, especially post-traumatic stress disorder. Maybe it is flashbacks. Maybe it is nightmares, kind of traditional. But I get tons and tons of people reach out to me and tons of people in my office that say, I don't really know that I have flashbacks. I sleep okay or sleep terrible, but I don't really have nightmares. So I really don't know that I have this PTSD. Maybe, but maybe you do. And maybe that's coming in the form of the past being present. Whether it's flashbacks like you see a physical picture, you smell certain things, or you hear things that remind you, there are things that are making the past present. And that is physically and emotionally exhausting. That's the number one thing that I will see in my office or the people that reach out to me online. It's physically and mentally exhausting, and they're tired of having this constantly happen. By the same token, many people will come to my office or reach out online and they'll say, I don't think I can think of a one event. It's either multiple events or, I've had a lot of things happen, but I don't necessarily have flashbacks or feelings about one thing. That's not necessarily what I'm looking to treat. Yes, EMDR is for maladaptively and unprocessed memories. That's its base. That's its home. That's what it does best. I've seen it save many lives, including my own. But what I'm looking to treat is that those things are causing us to feel helpless, hopeless, not good enough. Now, maybe you're too strong for that. I thought I was. Maybe you're too tough to feel those ways. And maybe those weren't the words that I would use at the time. But now that I look back on it, those words are the ones that are absolutely were causing me the most problem in my family, in my career, in my education. I lost everything because of it. I talk about that in other videos. I won't rehash it for you. Because I know many of you are going through the same thing. I get to speak all over this nation, and I hear the same thing. Man, it's like you were talking about me. It's because I was talking about me, right? So many of us are going through that same thing, and that's caused a lot of times with those flashbacks, those reliving of the things. And again, traditionally, maybe you're not sitting there reliving moments. Some people do, some people don't. But is that feelings that it left us with that are causing you the problem? In my opinion, that's the real flashback. The real flashback is those negative feelings that it causes. Whether it makes you depressed, anxious, angry, guilty, negative, hateful, sorrowful, numb, probably the number one thing I hear in my office. What EMDR is going to do is help with those, one, overgeneralizations and overreactions caused by the traumatic event. And two, I cannot describe to you how many people that I do EMDR with that see the trauma in a whole different light. We're not looking to make bad things good. That's ridiculous. But the number one thing that I will see when people are dealing with traumatic events, or especially the ones that have got them kind of stuck, is they see this much. It's kind of like looking through a small lens. For those of us that have been there, it's that hypervigilance that we need. It's that emergency state that we need, right? It's that honing in of our senses into one thing. How many times have you seen stories or felt yourself or heard from other people? All I could see was the end of the gun. All I could see was what was in his hand. I don't know why I didn't shoot. I don't know why I did shoot. I don't know why I turned left instead of right. I don't know why I'm stuck on only seeing the mom and her kid. I don't know why I'm stuck on only seeing this one thing out of the scene. I know there was so much more to it. That's your brain doing brain things. That's your brain thinking it needs to keep you safe continually about this event, whether you safe physically or you safe emotionally because somebody else got hurt in this. And I can't tell you how many times, the hundreds or thousands and thousands of times that I've done EMDR with somebody, and what they started to see was more of the picture, right? They could see why they didn't shoot because somebody was behind the person. They know why they went left. They know why they are focused solely on one person in the event. And suddenly the whole world starts opening up to them. First, the event starts opening up. They can see more of it. Their world gets bigger. They can see maybe the overhead view or view from a different lens, or maybe even through their own eyes is seeing more and more of it. And the relief that people experience over and over and over again, going from this tiny little piece that they're looking through to being able to see the whole picture, to be able to experience the whole picture and understanding why maybe they made some of the choices they did, made some of the choices of things they didn't decide to do, made some of the choices about why they were stuck on this one thing and now they feel like they completely messed up. That's that flashbacks. It's not always seeing the actual event. It's going to be a series of things that's got your brain stuck in this traumatic way. Another thing that's important that I think EMDR helps with is the physical toll that will take on your body. Trauma takes a physical toll on your body. Whether it's keeping you from going to the gym or eating right, which are already two hard things to do in public safety in the military all the time. And now we have no motivation to do so. And now we're in physical pain. Let me tell you an interesting one. I cannot describe to you how many people come into my office or reach out to me online with irritable bowel syndrome or the like. We call those somatic symptoms, physical symptoms of stress. Now, I'm not going to negate another doctor's diagnosis. If you have something like irritable bowel syndrome, then maybe you do. Maybe you have the physical things that are causing irritable bowel syndrome. And we're probably not going to take the physical part away. But I cannot describe to you how many people I treat that have horrible irritable bowel syndrome or GERD. And after some weeks of treatment, they no longer feel like they have irritable bowel syndrome. They're no longer dealing with the symptoms of that. Again, I'm not going to negate your doctor's diagnosis. If you have it, you have it. But what's the number one thing that causes an increase of things like GERD or irritable bowel syndrome? Stress. Stress, holding that stress in. There was a time in my life that I couldn't eat anything that was other than bland. And after getting treatment, again, the PTSD treatment, the EMDR modalities, it's not going to change your physical body. But the stress was making all that so much worse. I no longer suffer from those things. It's been years since I had to worry about those. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen that in my own office. How many times I've seen people with more aches and pains after dealing with traumatic events. And again, if you have a bad shoulder or a bad knee, then those are physical things that you have to deal with. But every one of those is made worse by things like PTSD, by extreme stress, by trauma. Don't believe that it works like that? Get some relief. Whether I'm the right person or you need to reach out to somebody else or you don't have anybody else to reach out to, but I'm the right person, I'll direct you in the right way. But I can't tell you how many times I've seen trauma and stress and PTSD continuously take a physical toll on people's bodies. What if you're the person that used to never get sick? I used to joke that I don't participate in illness. I don't have time for it. But in those really hard years, in those darkest years, is when I find myself consistently having colds and getting sick all the time and dealing with things that constantly would bring me physically down. And once I was able to deal with a lot of that PTSD and the traumatic events and the stress caused by that, I'm back to not participating in illness again. I know that's a funny thing that us tough guys will say. Of course, I get sick once in a while. But when your body is overstressed, when your body is overworked, when your body is over-traumatized and holding all that physical and emotional trauma, of course it makes you more susceptible to being sick. Flashbacks, the things that it causes in your life, and the physical toll that PTSD will take upon you are two things that EMDR will help with. I'm going to have a third video in this series because I have some more ideas about this, and I hope you check it out as well. If this is something you need help with, please reach out to me through something like Instagram, Dr. Trevor Wilkins, or my website, theangryvikingtherapist.com, as you see here. I'm driven to help the people that are suffering in the way that I did, and I will no longer suffer in silence, and I will no longer get better in silence.